The coffee was still warm when I found the receipt, crumpled in Ava's jacket pocket like a guilty conscience. It showed dinner for two at Romano's, the same night she claimed to be working late on the Henderson case. The receipt was time-stamped 9:47 p.m. Her supposed client meeting ended at 6. I'm Nick Harlan, and I've spent 15 years as a forensic auditor. I find discrepancies for a living. Numbers don't lie, people do. But when your own wife starts showing up in the ledger of deception, the math gets personal. Morning, honey. Ava breezed into the kitchen, already dressed in her power suit. Sharp angles, expensive fabric, the kind of armor corporate attorneys wear to battle. She kissed my cheek without looking at me, her attention fixed on her phone. How was the Henderson meeting? I asked, sliding the receipt across the granite countertop. Her fingers froze over her phone screen. For exactly 3 seconds, I counted, before she recovered. Exhausting. You know how demanding clients can be. Must have been. Romano's has quite the wine list for a client meeting. She picked up the receipt, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the paper. Tom suggested we discuss strategy over dinner. The client prefers informal settings. Tom Mercer, her boss, the managing partner at Whitmore and Associates. 40-something, silver hair, the kind of smile that sold million-dollar settlements, and probably a few souls along the way. Funny thing about Romano's, I continued, refilling my coffee. They don't serve business dinners in the private booths upstairs. Those are reserved for couples. Ava's laugh came out forced, like air escaping a punctured tire. You're being paranoid, Nick. Tom and I work closely together. The partnership track requires. Requires what? Candlelit dinners and shared desserts? She slammed her phone down. I don't have time for your insecurity. Some of us have careers that actually matter. The words hit like a slap, but I kept my expression neutral. 15 years of marriage had taught me to recognize her deflection tactics. Attack when cornered. Make the accuser feel guilty for asking questions. You're right, I said quietly. Your career matters. Question is, what are you willing to sacrifice for it? She grabbed her briefcase and headed for the door. I'll be late tonight. Tom wants to review the Morrison contracts. After she left, I sat in the silence of our craftsman-style home, the house we'd bought when we still talked about having kids, back when her ambition included me in the picture. Now it felt like a museum of better times, all polished surfaces and empty rooms. I pulled out my phone and called Marty Sullivan, my oldest friend and the best IT guy I knew. We'd grown up together in the blue-collar neighborhoods before gentrification turned them into historic districts. Nick, what's the word, brother? I need a favor, Marty, the kind you're good at. Ah, hell, what's Ava done now? That was Marty, straight to the point. He'd never liked Ava, said she treated me like a stepping stone to something better. I'd defended her for years. Now I wondered if he'd been right all along. Phone records. I need to see who she's really calling. You sure about this, man? Once you go down this rabbit hole, I'm already down it. I just need to see how deep it goes. 2 hours later, Marty showed up at my door with a laptop and a grim expression. We set up in my home office, surrounded by filing cabinets and the tools of my trade. Calculators, legal pads, and an unhealthy obsession with finding the truth in numbers. Here's the thing, Marty said, pulling up phone logs on his screen. Your wife's been busy, real busy. The data painted a picture I didn't want to see. Calls to Tom Mercer at all hours. Text messages sent during times she claimed to be in court. Location data showing her phone at his downtown penthouse when she was supposedly at the office. There's more, Marty said, his voice gentle. I found a second phone account, linked to your joint credit card but billed to a P.O. box. A burner phone. The classic cheater's tool, as old as infidelity itself. Can you trace it? Already did. Want to hear the voicemails? I nodded, though every instinct screamed at me to stop. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. The first message was Tom's voice, smooth and confident. Can't wait to see you tonight. Nick working late again? Ava's response made my hands clench into fists. He's always working, buried in his spreadsheets like some kind of accountant monk. At least you understand ambition. The messages got worse, more intimate, more cruel. They talked about me like I was a convenient roommate, someone to pay the mortgage while she played house with her boss. The final message was the worst. Think he suspects anything? Tom asked. Nick, please. He's so focused on his little audits, he wouldn't notice if I moved out. Besides, what's he going to do? He needs me more than I need him. I sat back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. The house creaked around us, old wood settling into new realities. What do you want to do? Marty asked. I want to show her what happens when you underestimate an auditor. Nick, She thinks I'm just some number cruncher, Marty. Someone safe and predictable. But here's what she forgot. I don't just find discrepancies. I expose them. That night, I started planning. Not revenge. That was too simple, too emotional. This would be an audit, a complete examination of Ava's life, with full disclosure of findings. She wanted to play games with the truth? Fine. But she was about to learn that in any audit, the house always wins. I spent the weekend like a man possessed, building my case with the methodical precision that had made me good at my job. Every receipt, every phone record, every digital breadcrumb Ava had left behind. By Sunday night, I had enough evidence to bury her professionally and personally. Monday morning, I was waiting in the kitchen when she came down for coffee. She looked surprised to see me. Usually I was gone by 7, off to some corporate office to untangle financial mysteries for clients who paid me well to be thorough. "You're running late," she said, checking her watch. A Cartier I'd bought her for our 10th anniversary, back when I thought expensive gifts could bridge the growing distance between us. Took the day off. Figured we should talk. She poured her coffee with practiced efficiency, already mentally at the office. About what? About Tom. About Romano's. About the phone you keep in your gym bag. Her hand stopped halfway to her mouth. Coffee sloshed over the rim, staining her white blouse. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out a manila folder, thick with printouts. Phone records, credit card statements, restaurant receipts, hotel charges. The paper trail of a double life, laid out in neat chronological order.
"This is what I'm talking about. 3 months of lies, Ava.
3 months of playing me for a fool while you and your boss turned my marriage into a joke." She set down the coffee cup, her attorney's mask sliding into place. Cool, calculating, looking for angles and weaknesses. "You went through my private information? That's illegal, Nick. I could have you arrested." "With what? Everything here came from accounts we share or public records. You want to call the police? Go ahead. I'm sure they'd love to hear those voicemails where you and Tom laugh about what an idiot I am." For the first time since I'd known her, Ava looked genuinely scared. Not angry, not defensive, scared. Like a defendant who just realized the prosecution had an airtight case. "It's not what you think," she said finally. "It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair with your boss. You've been lying to me for months, and you've been using our joint accounts to pay for hotel rooms and burner phones. Tom and I, it just happened. The partnership track is so competitive, and he's been mentoring me." "Mentoring? Is that what we're calling it?" She tried a different approach, softening her voice, reaching across the table. "Nick, please, we can work through this. Marriage counseling, whatever you want. I made a mistake, but..." I pulled my hand away. "The only mistake was mine. 15 years of thinking you were the woman I married. What do you want? Money? The house? I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I want you out, today. Pack whatever fits in your car, and leave. You can't just throw me out. This is my house too." I slid another paper across the table. "Actually, I can. Funny thing about being married to a forensic auditor. I keep excellent records. The down payment came from my inheritance. The mortgage payments, the renovations, the property taxes, all from my accounts. Your name might be on the deed, but legally, I can revoke your residency rights based on adultery clauses in our prenup." She stared at the document, her face going pale. "You're bluffing." "Try me." 2 hours later, I watched from the window as Ava loaded her BMW with suitcases and boxes. She kept looking back at the house like she couldn't believe this was happening. Like consequences were something that happened to other people. My phone buzzed with a text from Marty. "Package delivered." The package was a flash drive containing every piece of evidence I'd collected, along with a detailed report of Ava's affair. Marty had hand-delivered copies to 3 people. Tom Mercer's wife Patricia, the senior partners at Whitmore & Associates, and James Sullivan, no relation to Marty, who ran the city's most popular gossip blog. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. Ava, screaming about betrayal and demanding I fix this. Tom, threatening legal action if I didn't retract my false accusations. Patricia Mercer, sobbing and asking if the photos were real. I turned off my phone and drove to the Rusty Anchor, the kind of blue-collar bar where I'd grown up drinking. Darla, the owner, had been serving drinks and collecting secrets for 30 years. If you wanted to know what was really happening in town, you asked Darla. Well, she said as I took a stool at the bar. If it isn't the man of the hour, heard your wife's been making headlines. News travels fast. Faster when it involves lawyers screwing each other over. Literally. She poured me a whiskey without being asked. Word is, Tom Mercer's been called into an emergency partners meeting. His wife's already called a divorce attorney. Good for her. You know what I think? Darla leaned across the bar, lowering her voice. I think Ava picked the wrong man to cheat on. Most guys would have just gotten drunk and felt sorry for themselves. But you? You're the type who fights back. I'm the type who documents everything. Same thing, in your line of work. My phone, which I'd turned back on, buzzed with another call from Ava. I let it go to voicemail, but Darla nodded toward it. She's been calling everyone in town, trying to do damage control. Claims you doctored the evidence, that it's all some kind of setup. Let her talk. The evidence speaks for itself, that it does. Question is, what's your next move? I finished my whiskey and left a 20 on the bar. I'm going to let her dig her own grave. Amazing how much deeper holes get when people panic. That evening, I got a call from Patricia Mercer. Tom's wife had been a friend of ours, back when we did couple things and pretended to be happy. Nick? I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Neither did I, Patricia. Not until recently. I confronted Tom. He admitted everything, said it started as just a fling, but then Ava convinced him they had a future together. She told him you were planning to leave her anyway. That was news to me. She said what? That you'd grown apart, that the marriage was over and everything but paperwork. She made it sound like she was doing you a favor by finding someone else first. The audacity was breathtaking. Even in her affair, Ava had positioned herself as the victim, the misunderstood wife trapped with a boring husband. It was a narrative that painted me as the problem and her as the solution. Patricia, I need you to know, I never planned to leave her, not until I found out about Tom. I believe you. Tom's moving out tomorrow. I've already filed for divorce. I'm sorry it came to this. Don't be. You did me a favor. Better to know the truth than live a lie. After we hung up, I sat in my empty house and realized something had changed. The anger was still there, burning steady and bright. But underneath it was something else, a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. Ava thought she knew me, thought I was predictable, controllable, safe. She was about to learn that the most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone underestimates. The audit was just beginning. Tuesday morning brought the first real fireworks. I was having coffee and reading the news when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Whitmore and Associates. Mr. Harlan? This is Janet Morrison, senior partner at Whitmore and Associates. We need to discuss the materials you sent to our office. What's to discuss? The evidence is self-explanatory. Mr. Mercer claims the recordings were obtained illegally. He's threatening to file charges. I laughed, actually laughed. Tell Mr. Mercer that recording conversations on phones you pay for is perfectly legal. Tell him I said he should stick to corporate law and leave criminal law to people who understand it. Mr. Harlan, I need to ask, is there more evidence than what you've provided? Why? Planning damage control? Planning a proper investigation? What you've shown us is concerning. If there are additional improprieties, we need to know. I thought about the hotel receipts, the business dinners charged to client accounts, the pattern of behavior that suggested this wasn't Tom's first office affair. There might be. Depends on how thorough you want to get. We want to be very thorough, Mr. Harlan. Very thorough indeed. An hour later, Marty called with an update. Dude, you've got to see this. Ava's been posting on social media all morning, trying to control the narrative. I pulled up her Facebook page and read her latest post. Going through a difficult time as my marriage ends. Some people can't handle a successful woman. Grateful for friends who see through the lies and manipulation. #stronger together, #women supporting women. The comments were a mix of support from people who didn't know the full story and pointed questions from those who did. Marty had been busy, creating anonymous accounts and posting links to James Sullivan's blog, where the whole sordid story was laid out in detail. She's hemorrhaging support, Marty said. Every time someone posts sympathy, 3 more people show up with screenshots of the evidence. What about Tom? Radio silence. Smart move, actually. His lawyer probably told him to shut up and let the firm handle it. I was getting dressed when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Ava's car in my driveway. She was standing on the porch, looking haggard and desperate. Gone was the polished attorney, replaced by someone who'd clearly spent the night crying and scheming. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Nick, please. This has gotten out of hand. People are saying horrible things about me online. My mother called this morning, crying. You've humiliated me in front of the entire town. I've told the truth. If that's humiliating, maybe you should have thought about that before you started lying. She tried to push past me into the house, but I blocked her way. This is my home too, Nick. You can't just lock me out. Actually, I can. You made your choice when you decided Tom was more important than our marriage. Now live with the consequences. The consequences? Her voice rose to a near shriek. You've destroyed my career. The partners are talking about suspension. Tom won't even take my calls. You've ruined everything. I've exposed everything. There's a difference. This isn't over, she said, backing toward her car. I know things about you, Nick. Things that could make your life very difficult, such as the Henderson audit last year. The one where you found those discrepancies but didn't report them immediately. I know you sat on that information for weeks. I smiled. Actually smiled. You mean the case where I followed proper protocol and gave the client time to self-report before filing with the state? The case that's documented in detail in my files, with timestamps and correspondence showing exactly why I delayed? That Henderson audit? Her face fell. She'd tried to bluff with a weak hand, and I'd called her on it. You always were too careful, she muttered. And you were never careful enough. After she left, I drove downtown to Whitmore and Associates. The law firm occupied 3 floors of a glass tower overlooking the harbor, all expensive furniture and intimidating degrees on the walls. I'd been there before, for office parties and firm events, back when I was the supportive spouse who smiled and made small talk while Ava networked. Today, I was there for different reasons. The receptionist, a young woman named Kelly, looked surprised to see me. Mr. Harlan? Are you here to see Mrs. Harlan? Actually, I'm here to see Miss Morrison. She's expecting me. Janet Morrison was a woman in her 60s who'd built her career on being tougher than any man in the room. Her office was a shrine to successful cases and professional achievements, with a view of the harbor that probably cost more per month than most people's mortgages. Mr. Harlan, thank you for coming in. Thank you for taking this seriously. Oh, we're taking it very seriously indeed. Your evidence has opened several concerning lines of inquiry. She gestured to a thick file on her desk. It seems Mr. Mercer has been quite creative with his expense reports, business dinners that look suspiciously like dates, hotel stays during supposed business trips that don't correspond to any client meetings. How long has this been going on? That's what we're trying to determine. Your wife isn't the first junior associate Mr. Mercer has taken under his wing, so to speak. The implications hit me like a punch to the gut. Ava wasn't Tom's first affair. She was just the latest in a pattern of predatory behavior that the firm had somehow missed or ignored. What happens now? Mr. Mercer has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Your wife has been suspended without pay. If our investigation confirms what your evidence suggests, both of them will be terminated and reported to the State Bar Association. And if they fight it, Janet Morrison smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Mr. Harlan, I've been practicing law for 35 years. I've never lost a case when I had evidence this solid. They can fight all they want, they'll lose. I left the law firm feeling something I hadn't experienced in months. Satisfaction. Not happiness, not relief, but the deep satisfaction of a job well done. For years I'd watched Ava climb the ladder at Whitmore and Associates, celebrating her victories and commiserating with her defeats. I'd never imagined I'd be the one to knock her off that ladder. But as I walked to my car, I realized the audit wasn't over. Ava had threatened me, tried to bluff and intimidate her way out of consequences. She thought she could manipulate the situation, control the narrative, make herself the victim. She was about to learn that auditors don't just find problems, they solve them, permanently. The war for public opinion began in earnest Wednesday morning. I woke up to find my name trending on local social media, thanks to a coordinated campaign by Ava and her remaining supporters. The narrative was simple and effective. I was a controlling, vindictive husband who couldn't handle his wife's success. Vanessa Chen, Ava's best friend and fellow attorney, had posted a long Facebook rant about toxic masculinity and men who destroy women for daring to want more. The post had dozens of shares and hundreds of comments, most from people who knew Ava professionally but didn't know the full story. I was reading through the comments when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Harlan, this is Detective Ray Vickers with the city police. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. About what? Your wife has filed a complaint alleging harassment and possible theft. Can you come down to the station? I'll be right there. The police station smelled like coffee and disinfectant, with a kind of fluorescent lighting that made everyone look guilty. Detective Vickers was a tired-looking man in his 50s who'd probably seen every kind of domestic dispute imaginable. Your wife claims you've been stalking her, Mr. Harlan, following her to work, showing up at her hotel. She also says you stole personal property from your shared residence. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd taken. Here's what I removed from the house: clothes, personal items, and a laptop that belongs to her law firm. Everything was boxed and left on the front porch for pickup. I have timestamps and witnesses. What about the stalking allegations? I've been to her office building exactly once, yesterday, for a meeting with the senior partners. I have an appointment confirmation, and security footage will show I was there for exactly 45 minutes. Detective Vickers looked through my documentation with the weary expression of a man who'd dealt with too many he said she said cases. You're pretty thorough. It's my job to be thorough. Your wife seems to think you've been harassing her online as well. Anonymous accounts posting negative information about her. I leaned back in my chair. Detective, I'm a forensic auditor. When I want to damage someone's reputation, I don't hide behind anonymous accounts. I use documented facts and public records, such as the evidence I provided to her law firm showing she was having an affair with her boss and using company resources to facilitate it, all of which is verifiable and legal. He closed the file. Mr. Harlan, I'm going to give you some advice. Domestic situations like this can escalate quickly. Whatever you're planning next, make sure it stays on the right side of the law. Detective, everything I've done has been legal. Everything I plan to do will be legal. But that doesn't mean it won't be effective. I left the police station and drove straight to the Rusty Anchor. It was barely noon, but I needed a drink and some perspective. Darla was behind the bar, wiping down glasses and watching the local news on the mounted TV. Heard you had a visit from the police, she said, without preamble. News travels fast. Ava's been calling everyone in town, trying to drum up sympathy. Claims you're stalking her, threatening her, making her life miserable. What do you think? Darla snorted. I think she's scared. Woman who cheats on her husband doesn't get to play victim when he fights back. The bar's front door opened, and Vanessa Chen walked in. She looked around the dimly lit interior with obvious distaste before spotting me at the bar. Nick, we need to talk. No, we don't. She sat down anyway, ignoring Darla's hostile stare. You're destroying her, you know that? Ava's career, her reputation, her whole life. Is that really what you want? I want the truth to be known. If that destroys her, she has no one to blame but herself. She made a mistake. One mistake, and you're acting like she committed a crime. I turned to face her fully. One mistake? Vanessa, she's been lying to me for months. She opened secret accounts, bought burner phones, and charged hotel rooms to our joint credit card. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern of deception. Tom pursued her. He's her boss. He has power over her career. You should be angry at him, not her. I am angry at him. But Ava's a grown woman who made her own choices. She doesn't get to hide behind the powerful man excuse when those choices have consequences. Vanessa's voice rose. You've turned this whole town against her. People are saying horrible things online. Her mother won't speak to her, and the partners at her firm are treating her like a criminal. The partners are treating her like someone who violated professional ethics and possibly broke the law. Because that's what she did. You could make this stop. You could tell people you were wrong, that you misunderstood what you saw. I laughed. Actually laughed. You want me to lie to protect her reputation, after she spent months lying to destroy our marriage? I want you to show some compassion, some mercy. I showed her 15 years of compassion. I showed her mercy every time she came home late, every time she canceled plans, every time she made me feel like my career didn't matter because it wasn't as important as hers. Where was her compassion when she was laughing about me with her lover? Vanessa stood up, her face flushed with anger. You're pathetic, Nick. A small, petty man who can't handle his wife being successful. And you're an enabler who helped her cheat by covering for her lies. How many times did you provide alibis, Vanessa? How many times did you help her deceive me? She left without answering, but her silence was answer enough. That evening, I was reviewing financial documents in my home office when my computer chimed with a new email. The sender was anonymous, but the message was clear. Stop now, or face the consequences. You have 24 hours. I forwarded the email to Detective Vickers with a note. For your files. evidence of attempted intimidation. Then I called Marty. I need you to trace an email, I said. Already on it. The message came from a public computer at the downtown library. But I pulled security footage from their system. Want to guess who was there at the time it was sent? Tom Mercer. Bingo. Guy's not as smart as he thinks he is. Forward the footage to Detective Vickers. And Marty, it's time for Phase 2. What's Phase 2? Full disclosure. Everything we've found, everything we've documented, goes public. No more private meetings, no more professional courtesy. If they want to play dirty, we'll show them what dirty really looks like. You sure about this? Once it's out there, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. They want consequences? Let's give them consequences. Thursday morning brought a call I wasn't expecting. The voice on the other end was young, female, and nervous. Mr. Harlan, this is Janine Walsh. I work at Whitmore and Associates. I think we should meet. Janine was one of the junior associates at Ava's firm, a recent law school graduate who'd been working there for about 2 years. I'd met her at a few office parties, quiet, observant, the kind of person who blended into the background while everyone else networked and schmoozing. What about? About your wife, about Tom Mercer, about things you don't know yet. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown, away from the law firm and the gossip mill that had consumed the legal community. Janine was already there when I arrived, hunched over a laptop with dark circles under her eyes. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I wasn't sure you'd want to talk to anyone from the firm. Depends on what you have to say. She glanced around the coffee shop, making sure no one was listening. What I'm about to tell you could end my career, but I can't stay silent anymore. I'm listening. Your wife isn't Tom's first affair, or his second, or even his third. He's been doing this for years, targeting junior associates who are ambitious and vulnerable. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. How many? That I know of? At least 4, maybe more. The pattern is always the same. He offers mentorship, promises partnership track consideration, then gradually escalates to a personal relationship. And the firm knows? Some of the partners suspect. But Tom's careful. He never leaves evidence, never puts anything in writing. The women who've tried to complain have been quietly transferred or encouraged to find other opportunities. Why are you telling me this? Janine's hands shook slightly as she reached for her coffee. Because your wife is different. The others were victims, women who got in over their heads and paid the price. But Ava, she's a willing participant. More than that, she's helping him. What do you mean? She's been feeding him information about the other women, who might talk, who might cause problems. She even helped him discredit Sarah Martinez when Sarah tried to file a complaint last year. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Bad enough that Ava had betrayed our marriage, but she'd also betrayed other women, helped cover up a pattern of predatory behavior for her own advancement. You have proof of this? Janine nodded and turned her laptop around. On the screen was an email chain between Ava and Tom, discussing the Sarah situation and how to manage the narrative. There's more, she said. Financial irregularities. Tom's been using firm resources for personal expenses, and Ava's been helping him hide the charges in client accounts. That's embezzlement. That's what I thought. But I'm just a junior associate. Who's going to believe me? I studied her face, looking for signs of deception or hidden agenda, but Janine seemed genuinely distressed, a young lawyer who'd stumbled onto something bigger than she could handle alone. Why come to me? Why not go to the partners directly? Because they'll want evidence, and getting evidence means accessing files I'm not supposed to see. But you're already investigating. You have resources I don't. What do you want in return? Protection. When this comes out, Tom and your wife are going to look for someone to blame. I don't want to be their scapegoat. I thought about it for a long moment. Janine was offering to help me expose a much bigger scandal than just my wife's affair. But it would also mean escalating far beyond personal revenge into something that could destroy multiple careers and potentially result in criminal charges. If I help you, there's no going back, I said finally. This won't just ruin Ava and Tom, it'll bring down anyone who is complicit. Good. Maybe then the next junior associate won't have to choose between her career and her integrity. We spent the next 2 hours going through Janine's evidence. Email chains discussing how to handle problematic female employees. Expense reports that didn't match actual business activities. A pattern of behavior that showed Tom Mercer wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a predator who'd been enabled by the firm's old boy network. And Ava wasn't just his latest conquest. She was his accomplice. There's one more thing, Janine said as we prepared to leave. Tom's been talking about leaving the firm, starting his own practice. He wants your wife to come with him. When? Soon. Maybe within the month. I think they're planning to disappear before the investigation gets too deep. That evening, I sat in my home office surrounded by evidence of crimes I'd never imagined. What had started as a simple case of marital infidelity had evolved into something much darker, a conspiracy of abuse, embezzlement, and cover-ups that reached into the highest levels of one of the city's most prestigious law firms. I called Marty and asked him to come over. When he arrived, I spread everything out on my desk like a general planning a campaign. Holy hell, he said, looking through the documents. This is bigger than we thought. Much bigger. The question is, what do we do with it? We could take it to the FBI. Financial crimes, civil rights violations, this is federal territory. Or we could take it public first. Let the court of public opinion weigh in before the legal system gets involved. Marty grinned. You want to destroy them completely, don't you? I want justice. For me, for the women Tom victimized, for everyone who trusted these people to act with integrity. When do we pull the trigger? I looked at the calendar on my desk. Tomorrow was Friday.